What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Godzilla King of the Monsters trailer breakdown, TV spot breakdown, but still... So in this one, we are going to be breaking down the recent Godzilla King of the Monsters Intimidation display. TV spot, it was super cool. This is, like, honestly, filled with great footage. It was so well done. I think this one was awesome. Much better than the last few TV spots. I think it verges on showing a bit much, but it really only shows us more of what we've already seen, which is good. So it's not like it's showing us too much, and when I say I think it's verging on showing us a bit much, I just mean in terms of everything. I'm not saying this specific TV spot. This specific TV spot is fine. I think just everything we've gotten so far, maybe we've seen a bit too much, but maybe that's also just because my job is literally to sift through every single thing that there is about this movie that's been officially released. I don't look into the spoilers, and if you put spoilers, you still get blocked. That is how that works. I think because it's my job to dig through every little bit of info that is officially released for this movie, I kind of know way more than I want to know, but I feel like there's quite a bit of footage that we have for this movie in total. So immediately right off the bat here, you might notice that the song Clarity Luna is playing. This is returning from trailer 1. A lot of people loved the song, and they loved the use of it in trailer 1 from SDCC. People weren't as happy with the trailer song from trailer 2 and the other songs from the TV spot, so people are happy to hear it back. I am just like them. I am glad that it's back. Every single shot in this trailer now has its colors popping much more than it did in the original trailers. Things are much more polarized now, and there's a lot more contrast every shot. We see Serizawa hanging out on deck of what I believe is a Monarch facility, not a submarine, as we'll talk about in a minute. If Serizawa's here, that means that this intimidation display sequence happens before his presumable death, and I still think that he will die in this movie, meaning that I think this happens before Godzilla fights Ghidorah in Antarctica. So I think this happens fairly early into the movie, maybe around the 30-minute mark, I'm not sure. Godzilla swims up to the front deck flickering. It turns out that he is not supercharged in this shot, which was my previous theory. I thought that this was going to be right after he gets supercharged because, again, if you haven't been on the channel forever, and I don't blame you, the working theory here that we're going with is that Serizawa supercharges Godzilla somehow, and then Godzilla might kill him, or maybe he just dies in the process. We don't totally know how. We just think that that's going to be what happens. If Godzilla swims up to the deck flickering, I thought that he'd be supercharged, but if Serizawa's on deck, I don't think he is. This might just be exactly what they state in Intimidation display. Why he's trying to intimidate the Monarch sub, I'm not sure. Sorry, it's not a submarine. I don't think it's a submarine. I'm not sure why he's trying to intimidate them, but it seems like he is. Mark Russell is the one who confronts Godzilla. That's pretty fitting. This is most likely the first time he sees Godzilla since Godzilla attacked in 2014. I know it wasn't really Godzilla attacking, but that's probably the way Mark will look at it, right? We know that Mark loses a child. Well, we don't know that. That's just what we're theorizing. We think that Mark will lose a child during that 2014 incident. It's been heavily implied that he will. # rest in peace, little Russell. And so I would say that this is probably the first time Mark is seeing Godzilla since then. Some questions can be raised here as to why Godzilla swims away so rapidly. There's some theories that he's being attacked. We see yellow flickers in trailer 2, meaning that Ghidorah could be attacking him. There could be an underwater battle. Of course, we do have concept art for an underwater battle. I don't think that's what's happening. I think what's happening is he is hearing a frequency that's being emitted. I think that's from Emma Russell's Orca device, the monster DJ box. I think she's emitting a frequency to wake up Ghidorah, and it winds up pissing off Godzilla, which is why Godzilla heads to Antarctica. The roof of this area makes me think that it isn't a submarine. I don't exactly know what they're in, but it doesn't look like they'd be in transportation with a roof like that. So I think they're inside of a stable base. I would assume that this stable base is where they launch subs out of, and I'd also assume that it's an oil rig. I think it will be an oil rig because we've seen an oil rig that Mark Russell has been on in previous trailers when Mothra confronts him. I think that this will be part of an oil rig that Monarch will own. They'll launch their subs from there, their Osprey helicopters, and Mothra will also, for whatever reason, I still can't figure out why, show up. During the shot of the volcano eruption, we see improved CGI plus an additional shockwave that wasn't there in the previous trailers. We see this shot of Rodan chasing the Argo jet through the smoke. Now, initially, I thought this was him taking off from the volcano, but after watching it over and over again, I don't think it is. In the volcano shots, we see way more helicopters surrounding the Argo jet, so I think this is actually during Rodan's assault on the military when he's chasing the Argo jet trying to catch Ghidorah. If you've seen my All Scenes in Order, you know I placed this in that shot where Rodan claps his wings together and flies upward. I think he's going to fly up through the smoke, but we'll talk about that more in my specific video in which I break down my all scenes in order. This shot of Ghidorah firing his gravity beams has a lot to look at here. First off, you know, we got the lightning building up through the neck. We've seen that in previous trailers. Pretty cool that the necks are translucent. I like that. The snow around him gives us some context that this is at Outpost 32 around the time he emerges from the ice. There is a human structure in the foreground that he is firing down towards. So I don't think he's attacking Godzilla in this shot. I think he is destroying the Monarch base. All three heads fire at different times, so that's a subtle little detail that maybe you didn't notice. And he has red eyes, just like Kaiser Ghidorah. The shot of Serizawa in Antarctica I also find pretty interesting. I think he will be witnessing Godzilla arriving. I think that's what he's looking at in this shot. I think this will be round one before Godzilla and Ghidorah. Most likely Godzilla won't be supercharged at this point. You know, it just wouldn't make sense yet. And we'd also want to see a non-supercharged Godzilla fight Ghidorah in order to show how strong Ghidorah is, because Godzilla will definitely lose that battle. I think this will be just after the Intimidation display. I think what's going to happen is they're going to receive a message from Emma Russell on the sub. They're going to be like, hey, what the hell was that? Millie Bobby Brown will radio in and be like, hey, I'm trying to reach Monarch. We really need help up here. My mom's crazy. Emma Russell's going to release Ghidorah. Godzilla's going to get pissed off and go try and fight him. They're going to take an Osprey helicopter to Antarctica. They're going to get there before Godzilla does. That's just my guess. This shot of Godzilla arriving at Fenway Park is most people's favorite shot from this trailer. I will say it probably isn't mine. I think I like the Ghidorah stuff with Rodan a little more, but I still do think this is a really cool shot. My problem with it is that the Osprey helicopter, the lighting on it is just off, and the overall lighting of this shot, it just doesn't complement the CGI very well, but they will change that. I mean, they are constantly tweaking the CGI on this movie, so that'll be fixed by the time the movie comes out. I would like to say, though, this Osprey helicopter flying in, I think this will be carrying Mark Russell and a few others. The reason I think that is because we see in trailer 1 and 2 shots of explosions going off in Fenway Park, and it looks like a man and a girl are like clinging together, so I assume Mark is trying to catch his daughter Madison Russell, who we do know will be caught in Fenway Park during this fight. We do see her in trailer 2 because we see someone carrying what I believe is the Orca in Fenway, and I think that might be Madison with the device. Emma Russell might also be there, as we'll talk about in a bit. This shot of the lightning bolt coming from behind Godzilla, the single lightning bolt that lights up his silhouette, reminds me a lot of the shot from Kong Skull Island where the explosion goes off and reveals Kong's silhouette, so that could be an intentional choice on their part. It could also be a reference to the ending of Godzilla vs. Destroya. That is also possible. Once again, I'd like to point out that there's blue lightning behind Godzilla, and we know in all the Ghidorah shots there is yellow lightning, so we got some contrast here with nature. Here we go, let's talk about a crazy shot of Emma Russell really fast. We got a continuation of what I believe is her slamming down the Orca on some sort of table after it's been activated. I think this will be during Ghidorah's release. It's crazy windy in this shot, and it is a bit more frantic than the other version of this sequence we've seen in previous trailers. She's wearing an Outpost 32 jacket, and we often see her in this fur coat, giving us a clear indication that she's still at Outpost 32 in Antarctica. There's lots of wind in this shot, plus a yellow flicker, meaning I do believe that Ghidorah is being released right here. Here in our extended Rodan vs. Ghidorah sequence, we see what I believe will be their first encounter together. I think Rodan will start the movie as a good guy, get defeated by Ghidorah, kind of side with Ghidorah for a while, and then return to being a good guy towards the end of the film. Now, one problem I do have with this is that it's either Rodan is just huge or Ghidorah is tiny. Like, there should be a massive difference between the two. Rodan is smaller than Godzilla. He's somewhere around 100-something feet. He's barely bigger than the male Muto. Ghidorah is taller than Godzilla, meaning something funky is going on here. I don't know why they're the same size in this shot. It just doesn't look right. I mean, I think it is because Ghidorah's all crunched up into a little ball here. I think that's what the problem is. But Ghidorah looks really small, and Rodan looks really big in this image. Other things interesting to point out here is that Rodan's head is bigger than Ghidorah's head, so I find that pretty interesting. That probably is just in general, Rodan will have a bigger head than Ghidorah, not necessarily just because Ghidorah looks tiny in this shot. I'd also like to point out that Ghidorah has blue eyes in this image, which is different than the red eyes we saw him with earlier, so I don't know what the deal with that is, but it's interesting. This little image of Ghidorah outside the Argo jet is super cool. Now, we did see a little bit of this in trailer 2. It looks like the jet will go down and probably crash. I don't know, though, because Kyle Chandler is on board and we know that he's not going to die here. I would assume this happens during the DC sequence when the Argo jet flies like Ghidorah in the storm clouds, and a lot of people pointed out that the middle head looks like it's smiling in this image, but I think all three heads look like it's smiling, or they're smiling in this image. Emma Russell's little line here is pretty interesting. I think this does happen during her death, because I do think she will die in this movie. She hasn't been confirmed to return for Godzilla vs. Kong, so I think she's just a goner. A lot of people seem to share that sentiment. A lot of people have the context of this different than I do. She is saying "Long live the king" here, which is clearly a reference to Charles Dance's line, but most people I've seen online think she's talking about Ghidorah. They think she is referring to Ghidorah's victory over Godzilla in Antarctica or something like that. I don't think that's the case. I think this is actually her having a change of heart. If I had to guess, this will be placed in Fenway Park in Boston at the end of the movie. She will probably be dying here, and Charles Dance will come up and talk to her at her death. She will throw the line, "Long live the king," back in his face as Godzilla shows up and starts tearing it up. You can also see like yellow flickers on her, meaning Ghidorah is definitely in the area. But again, I can't tell because like she might die in Outpost 32. We have not seen any footage of her that would suggest that she survives from Outpost 32. Everything we have so far suggests that she dies there. This is the only shot to indicate that she makes it out. The only reason I think that this isn't in Outpost 32 is because she's wearing a different jacket and it seems to be raining on her, not snowing on her. But I really don't know. What is she up to in this movie between the points of Ghidorah's release and the final battle? I really don't know. That is what throws me. If I had to guess, I'm pretty confident on how the kaiju storyline will go, but the human storyline, I'm not totally sure. Also, there's some blue glow on her neck. A lot of people have pointed out, not sure what that is, but there are scars on her face that we can point to and say that, yeah, these scars aren't on her face in any other shots, meaning this definitely happens after all the other existing footage we have of her. We just don't know how long after. This little image of Godzilla's called arms here is slightly different than it was before. Godzilla's got blue eyes and blue gills now, and he didn't in trailer 1. We have seen that in other TV spots though. There is, however, flickering on Godzilla's dorsal fins that we haven't seen on the other TV spots. So again, they're just adding more and more to the CG, always improving it, and I love that. There is also lighting improvements done to the final shot of Godzilla and Ghidorah charging at each other, so that is all good to go. If you listen to the dialogue throughout the trailer, you will hear Charles Dance say,
"We opened Pandora's box, and there's no closing it now."
For those of you who don't know, Pandora's box contained light, fire, and knowledge. Just really depends on which version of the story you're going with. But it also brought about death, sickness, and evil. So it brought good into the world, and it also brought bad into the world. This is said in the trailer as Rodan shows up, so it would be fitting that it'd be fire. It brings fire and death because that's Rodan, but I think this is just referring to the Titans waking up in general. I think he's just saying we opened Pandora's box, now the Titans are awake. There's no closing it now, they're gonna be out and about, and that's just the world we live in. I do think he is talking about Ghidorah though. I think he wants to free Ghidorah, and that's how he's using this line. He's like, hey listen, we already opened Pandora's box, might as well let this giant three-headed dragon out. And the last interesting thing here to notice, Godzilla 154 pointed this out to me, is that there is no footage of Mothra in this TV spot. I didn't really think about it, but we have not seen any new footage of Mothra since trailer 2, which is interesting. If a trailer 3 is around the corner, I'm sure she'll be in it, but I think that would indicate that she probably doesn't have too much screen time in the movie. I know some people think that the reason they're not showing her is because she plays a large role in the story, and that could be, but I would also say that that large role in the story that she plays probably won't involve a lot of screen time. She'll probably be more of an impactful character that you don't always see. That whole thing does raise the question, when is trailer 3 coming out? And I would say sooner rather than later. I think we're gonna get a trailer 3 within the next few weeks here, like really soon. So let's keep our eyes out for it, because I think it's gonna drop really soon. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. D-Man, out.